Okay, so this morning we're going to be installing this billet oil catch can into the 2014 Dodge Charger RT. This has the 5.7 Hemi engine in it, and I'm not going to videotape all of the steps because it's just too hard to do with tools in one hand and camera in another. So I'm just going to quickly show you what you need and then kind of incremental steps along the way. So here is the tool list. You have a cup of coffee. You got a blade, which you'll use or may need to use to cut the tubes to exactly what you need. You got a 17 size 17 metric wrench. You have a flathead screwdriver. You have a pair of pliers, and of course you have the catch can assembly as well, and the brass fittings and the nuts and all this kind of good stuff. So there are plenty of other videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to do this. But in a nutshell, what you're going to do, take this nut, put it on there. Catch can is going to go screw onto that. You're going to use your flathead screwdriver, pry off the oil tube here and here. You're going to reuse these plastic bends here. You're going to take these tubes, basically stick them from here back to the catch can, from here to the catch can, and then you're set. Now, why do you need these? Pro tip, there's a clamp right down here that you'll want to pinch and move, because as you're screwing around the catch can in here, you won't want to be banging against that and cutting up your fingers or scratching your can or doing any of that kind of good stuff. So that's the short version of it, and I'll show it to you again once we're all done, or if I see something interesting along the way. All right, so here we are, just having done the very first part of it. As you'll notice, I've moved this clamp. I moved it just a little bit, like 1/4 of an inch is all I needed to do. I didn't want coolant to start leaking out and causing all kinds of problems, so I just barely loosened it, barely moved it, just enough to get it out of the way so that when you have to stick your hand down in here and undo the bottom of this can, that you don't have any issues. I took the piping off from here. You'll have to reuse the two plastic rubber fittings here to put on to these copper fittings. The other thing I kind of noticed in this interim step is that the previous owner evidently didn't like how his engine stunk, because in here I find black ice air freshener that should be hanging on the mirror, I would think, but instead is stuck in the engine compartment, so that's very odd. Obviously the engine doesn't really smell any better. It smells like oil and grease and man instead of whatever this crap is. So we're going to go ahead and throw that over there, and we'll get back onto business. Okay, so you can see that I've reused the rubber fittings from the previous one. I put in the brass fitting. It fits in there pretty snug for that one. And then down here as well, put this in here, put the brass fitting on there, so that it's all pointing towards the catch can. And then what we'll do is we'll take these pipes, we'll cut them so that they're nice and even with where we need to go in here. Now you'll notice that these pipes are not the same length, so make sure you're using the long one for your longest run from here to here, and the shorter one from here to here. Now sometimes billet will let you order, well, I guess they'll always let you order the nicer braided pipes. I decided I didn't want to pay the money, so I just got the normal pipes that the normal tubing that they send, and I'll just cut these to size. I don't have any fancy, aluminum fittings that you'll see in other videos that connect them. But we're going to be very careful about how we measure from here to here and from there to there to make sure that we don't cut off too much pipe. And then once we get it together, we'll look at it again. Okay, so here we are, fully connected now. We've got our pipe running from up here all the way down to one end. We have the other pipe running over here to the other end. Now it doesn't matter which pipe goes in which fitting. You know, it's just basically a circle, so it doesn't matter if this one goes in here and this one goes in here. It just doesn't matter at all. It's all going to the same place, coming from the same place, so you don't have to worry about that. The only thing that you have to worry about with this particular setup is if you want to have your engine cover put back on. The way these pipes come on down here, this, you know, it's easier just to show you, so let me grab it. Grab the engine cover, put it back into position here, approximately. And you'll see down here that this plastic piece from the engine cover is, you know, being blocked by the new tubing that we put in here. So what I've seen in other videos is a guy just takes a Dremel and just cuts this section out, sands this all down, and so it doesn't, you know, cut into the pipe, and puts the engine cover on that way. But, you know, for now, obviously, I'm not going to take the time and Dremel this right now, so I'm going to leave my cover off and call it good. You know, I'm not sure what I want to do otherwise with the engine bay. It's pretty dirty, needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But anyway, so there you go as far as installing the billet oil catch can cover on a 5.7 V8 Hemi and a 2014 Dodge Charger. Hope this helped out. All right, so, you know, I forgot, and there's always one more thing to add, but one thing I want you guys to be sure to do is that this it's kind of hard to see here, but there's this stopping nut that where you screw this on, it determines how far back in here this goes. I screwed this on about 5 turns, you know, between 4 and 5 turns to get it on there. And you should leave this loose until you're done putting all this piping on, so you have a little bit of flexibility to screw around with. But please remember, once you've done all your fitting and everything else, to take your size 17 wrench and tighten that down. Now, you don't have to be Hercules about it. It just needs to be really snug so that this thing isn't flopping around in here. You know, like I say, you don't need to make it super, super, super tight. Just snug. You know, you'll know by feel kind of how much is enough, just so that this can is nice and solid on that spur and not flopping around in there. So, and then if you find it too cumbersome to reach your hands down in here and unscrew this, you know, people will usually take 2 hands, one on this side, one on this side, and kind of feel it and unscrew it. If you find that too cumbersome or your hands are too big or whatever, you can always loosen this bolt a little bit, give yourself a little play, swing this up to the side this way just a little bit so you can get your hand in there a little bit easier. Anyway, that's the last tip, and good luck with your catch cam.